They drive her crazy, but she loves them. And Andrew the dog, who is everyone's favorite. Alexis was a theater major who has performed in plays in the past, including the Vagina Monologues at the University of Michigan, where she made a joke about camel tails. She promises to repeat that tonight. It's weird. Tonight's story is much later. Alexis is grateful for the opportunity to join the people tree, Ohana, and wanted her parents to know that her bachelor's degree in theater arts was worth it, but her master's in business is what pays the bills. Let's welcome to the stage, Alexis.
The jet engines revved as we were cleared to take flight. We were on our way to London, kicking off our year-long family trip to Europe. And as a 6-year-old, all I could think about was my wiggly tooth. I had been wiggling it all day, and I was determined to lose my very first tooth. I wasn't thinking about the mess that would ensue, or the fact that no one should be walking around on the plane as it's gaining speed, ready to take flight. So with one big final push of my tongue, it came out, just as we're taking off. I'm delighted and flash my smile at my mom, and she immediately calls for assistance, and I remember the flight attendant scrambling to get ice, because apparently it was a bloody mess, and I really didn't care about that. I was worried if the tooth fairy was going to be able to find me in a new country. Because it was real. It was just fear. After a few days in England and no sign of the tooth fairy, I was convinced that she couldn't find me. Or worse, she forgot about me. So I told my parents, and the next morning when I wake up, under my pillow is a British pound. Turns out the tooth fairy had a few things to tend to and a slight case of jet lag. That was the kickoff of my first grade year in 1980. We were on this trip because my parents felt that my brother and I were growing up too fast, and they just didn't think they were going to have much time left to get to know us and spend time with us, that we would want to spend time with them. So they read a book. I don't know if you guys remember this, $18 a day, travel Europe on this budget. They read that book, and they figured it's now or never. So we wound up buying a 17.5-foot sea green camper, which was anything but luxurious. But it was our home for the next year, and it kept us on budget. Now, I did get an allowance because my parents didn't want to hear me say, buy me this, or please, I really want that. And they said that I always had money, and they weren't really sure where it came from because I was spending a lot of money. I don't remember having seemingly endless amounts of money, but I do remember learning some smart spending habits, like not purchasing on every impulse, as well as waiting to get out of the tourist spot to buy, candy or soda or tchotchkes. My prized possession that I actually still have today was a stuffed animal hedgehog that I bought from a street vendor in England. And I wanted it so bad, I had to say no to other spending opportunities. During the year, we visited England, France, Switzerland, Monaco, Italy, Greece, Cyprus, and Israel. In each country, I learned the currency, I learned how to convert from one currency to another, and I also learned that it's really important to find currency exchanges so that you can actually get the money in the local currency to buy things like food and gas and tickets into the sites. I also learned how to say dog in each language. Because that's what's really important to a 6-year-old girl. So by the time I'm 7, it's about 6 months into the trip, we're in France, and I'm bored on a regular basis. History, culture, it's so boring. As I'm older, I get brain parts now. Well, my 7-year-old self, she's still in there. I do have this. How about a round of applause for me? Thank you. You guys are really kind. All right. So there I am. Oh, that's right. This is why I forgot it, because it's so freaking boring. I was forced to keep a journal, a diary, as a 7-year-old. So this is what I did. I showed them. Every day, not every day, but every entry, I wrote, "Dear diary, I woke up, I got dressed. Nothing interested me today. Our destination is fill in the blank, and we drove for 10 hours to get there." That's what happens when you force a 7-year-old. So a few months later, we're on a hovercraft boat going from Italy to Greece. And in an effort to avoid boredom, I go to my parents and I say, "Please, may I have some money to go to the arcade? I really want to play video games." And my parents look at me right in the eyes and very clearly state, "This is for video games only, do not play slot machine." Okay, I'm happy, I skip off, I get to play games on my own, all's good. Now you may be wondering, why do you have to tell a 7-year-old, is it normal to tell a 7-year-old not to gamble? In my case, it was a fair boundary to set. So we have this antique slot machine in our home, and ever since I can remember, I have loved putting a dime in it, listening to that coin fall down the coin chute, unlocking the machine so that I could reach up, pull down with a firm grip on that old metal handle. And you really had to pull it hard. I mean, really antique machine, guys. And then the wheels would spin, and then they would stop, one by one. Then I would listen for one of 2 sounds, because most of the time I was shorter and it was higher. So I'd listen to the sounds, and you would have either the really just depressing, empty ching-chong, and that meant your money was gone, you were not seeing it, or ching, followed by this like light spattering ping of dimes shooting out of the machine. It was really cool. And I loved watching the wheels spin and see what images would come up. So back on the ship, I'm playing asteroids and space invaders. And suddenly, I'm bored. I feel the lure of the colorful wheels. They want to spin. So I walk around slot machines if I'm sizing it up. And I figure, yeah, let's just play one game. Mom and Dad won't ever know. So I put the coin in, reach up for that familiar lever, and I pull down with all my might, and I'm watching. Fun. I mean, so fun, you guys. The wheels spinning. And as I see the images line up, I knew it was over. And my parents would find out. I hit the jackpot. So there I am. Okay. I'm excited. And I'm surprised. And there's all these coins coming out of the machine. I mean, like, coming out of the machine. There's no end in sight. So I think quick, and I take my shirt bottom, and I make a pouch. It was the 80s, they were long shirts. And I make a pouch, and I just start scooping in the coins as fast as I can. It was noisy, it was loud, there was a crowd gathering, and I just keep scooping and scooping. And finally, the coins stop, and my shirt is really full. But the coins are safe in my shirt. So I'm walking on the way back to our room, and I wonder, how much trouble am I in? Got my full coins. Oh, there's too many coins to hide. Can't do it. And my shirt's really heavy. So I gotta fess up. I gotta tell the truth, tell my parents I didn't listen. So I open the door and I dump all of the coins, onto the bed. My parents look at me in disbelief as they're trying to piece together what happened. I was a good kid, a rule follower, and based on their reaction, it seemed like maybe their rule of no gambling was gonna be kind of pushed aside because winnings were involved. So I flashed my adorable smile, and I proudly display my contribution to the family. It was really well timed because when we had left Italy, we didn't have enough time to get to the currency exchange, so this actually provided my family with what they needed. Coins and local currency. Do you remember that $18 a day budget? That's not a lot for people. So we could temporarily extend it. They couldn't be mad. So you could feel the stress just fade away as they relaxed with the rules and then relaxed with the money. And 42 years later, I'm at my parents' house with my boys. We're celebrating a holiday. And my 11-year-old says to me, "Hey Mom, you got any dimes?" Now, these days, I don't have this endless supply of cash available. I live in a cashless society. And I happen to, by some stroke of luck, happen to have a few dimes. So I gave it to him, and I hear the familiar sounds as he puts in the coin. He gets a win, a little spattering of the dimes coming out. And I sat back, and my parents and I were just soaked in the moment. And the sounds brought me back to my 7-year-old self. The one who was worried about the tooth fairy and if she went to other countries. The one who was a rule breaker and had seemingly endless amounts of money. And she reminded me that as you take a chance and you stand in front of the slot machine in your life, you gotta have that firm grip, you gotta pull down with all your might, and have fun as the wheels are spinning. Because no matter what comes up, if you're in the moment, you've hit your jackpot. Thank you.
Take that, vagina monologues. Fantastic. Wonderful job, Alexis. There's two more important pieces of our People Tree team I want